maybe I'll get back to that. Let's see. Final countdown on clarinet. See what key. Da, 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 da. I'm going to look this one up and see what key it's in. So it's pretty easy. It's just based on like a 5-note, 6-note minor scale. Final countdown. And I'm going to see what key it is in the original pop song here. Let's skip ahead here. What key is it in here? So this is a good example of songs that are in, if you want to learn a song that comes from like a pop music or rock, the rock genre, or anything that's got a lot of guitars in it, the key of the song is in original, it's in F sharp minor. That's not a great key for band because that puts our instruments into some pretty awkward keys. So I'm going to take it down a half step. And I'm going to make it in F minor. Okay, so here we go. Actually, I think people usually do it in C minor in band. So I'm going to teach it in that key. All right, so we're going to go in clarinet. We're going to go A, G, A, D, and then a B flat. Da, 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 da. Here we go. There's the final countdown on clarinet. So I'm going to get back to that whole question. Poor Mike, I didn't answer. I answered your question, but it was silent. So Benny Goodman, Sing, Sing, Sing. Okay. What I was saying earlier, Mike, is you either read my mind or were on the same wavelength, or maybe I mentioned it. But on this big band gig that I played last Sunday, which was the reason I didn't have a show, I was playing lead alto and clarinet in sort of this big band I played with a lot, but it's kind of a scaled down big band with fewer members. There's only 2, and in this case we had 3 saxophones, and then we had like a scaled down brass section. So anyway, I was playing the lead alto part and the clarinet part, and the band leader wanted to do Sing, 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 which was a little scary for me because I don't usually play that big clarinet solo. It's usually my colleague Joe who's there, and not Uncle Joe from the show here, but a different Joe, who is a really excellent clarinet player. So I had to step in and play this solo last week. It ended up working out okay. So Sing, Sing, Sing is in A minor. Sorry. And then the saxes come in. I think that's the key it starts in. It might start in, let me think now. It actually might start in E minor. I can't remember. And there's more parts to it. I think it does change keys in the middle. When the clarinet comes in, I know the clarinet is in A minor or B minor for clarinet, and it's like and it goes up way high, but I'll play it low. No, I'll see if I can get up there. And then the brass comes in and does like a call and response thing. So there's a big drum solo in there. It's a lot of fun. We did a good job with it. I didn't do as much of the clarinet soloing as my other colleague usually does. So definitely big band era, to answer your question, Mike. Sing 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 is kind of like the quintessential hit of the big band era of the 30s and early 40s. Okay. Thanks, Leonardo. Super. Oh, okay. So now I'm going to go back and do the song I promised. Zarzavat. I promised, although you couldn't hear me promising because my microphone wasn't working. This is the request that our friend Shrek has. So I'm going to go here so you can see. Bloop. There we go. Hey, how do I get my... Oh, it's not plugged in. Oh, well. You can hear it. You won't be able to see it. So this is the song we're trying to figure out. Okay, so we're in... it's what's that note? So when I'm trying to figure out songs, I always listen for what's the central note, the resting tone. Ba. Okay, so it's in C. It sounds like it's in C minor, although in this style of music, I think sometimes we go in between major and minor. But I think that's pretty much where we are. So now I have to figure out... What's happening there? Hold on a second. That's a little bit they're playing there at the beginning. Cool. It's like a vocal part with an instrumental response. It's kind of like an octave. I think it's an yeah, chromatic scale. 12 notes, chromatic scale. So you guys know what a chromatic scale is? It's when you play every single note that you possibly can play in between a span of notes without skipping any. So here's my piano. It's kind of covered up by the comment there. Let me take this down. So a chromatic scale. Hitting every sharp and flat between an octave. Okay, so there's a little bit of that song for you, my friend. Shrek is a legend. Let's go to some more questions. The question that you all didn't hear me answer is this one. How do you hold your breath for a long period of time on the clarinet? I'll give you the quick answer to that. Number one, when we play our musical instruments, we have to take a much deeper breath than we're used to taking in normal everyday breathing. Right? Normal everyday breathing, we just kind of breathe gently in and out. We don't even think about it. But we're playing an instrument. You have to really breathe through your mouth. First of all, you get more air quicker through your mouth. Like an O shape. All the way down as deep as you can into your belly. You fill up your whole upper body with air. And then we have to control the rate at which the air comes out. So we do this thing called long tones. Take a medium note on your instrument. I like to do something like a G on the clarinet. I'm going to make a good embouchure. I'm going to take a super deep breath, as deep as I can. And then I'm going to just do a steady stream of air that gives me a steady note and see how long I can hold it. I'm not going to hold it as long as I can because that's about 45 seconds and I don't want to be boring you, but I'll show you what the beginning of it sounds like. So deep breath, good embouchure. So I could go on for about another 40 seconds there. You want to go for the steadiest note, no wobbling in your sound, and keep your air strong, supporting that tone. And that's how you hold a long note. And the second part, which I was going to get into, was circular breathing, which is a whole other thing. If you guys want to learn about circular breathing, go ahead and ask me in the chat, and I'll talk about that. Okay. Thank you all for, I'm looking through all your comments about telling me I have no sound, and that's my bad for not seeing that. All right. Let's keep going. Final countdown. Wad says silent movie. Yes. If only I wasn't like black and white film and kind of, you know, looking like Charlie Chaplin. Let's see. Hey team, we have a deal to put this. Okay. It looks like you guys were all bonding over that moment. So, okay. How do I double tongue consistently? The short answer is, well, the baseline answer is, with any technical thing that you're trying to do, whether it's your fingers or your tonguing or your particular musical passage, is you want to start off slowly at a tempo that you can execute it pretty perfectly and consistently, and then gradually with the metronome, gradually increase the tempo. And that magic spot to practice, the magic tempo to practice, I tell my students this, is the speed or the tempo where you feel like you're playing it correctly, but you're pushing yourself right to the edge of you're being able to control what you're doing. When you're right on that edge, you keep pushing that and building your skills at that level. But if you push beyond to the point where you're making uncontrolled mistakes, that's where you want to back up a little bit, because you're going to start to practice doing it wrong, right? So it's that magic zone of, you know, maybe you can double tongue consistently. I don't know what instrument you play, Coconut Crabs. I'm going to play, I remember you, but I can't remember what instrument, so I apologize. I'm going to do it on flute because I'm better at it on flute. Remember we said double tonguing is the front of the tongue, tu, followed by the back of the tongue, ku, like K-U, tu, ku, tu, ku. So say you were pretty strong here. That's like eighth notes at Maybe you push your metronome 10 clicks faster. I don't know if that's 10 clicks or not, but let's just say it is. So say you can get it pretty cleanly at a fairly fast speed. Maybe try applying it to a scale. So maybe keep it at that speed, but focus on, all right, I was doing it, but it was a little uneven, and both notes could sound a little bit more consistent, where they both sound like single tongues. So, and gradually increase your tempo. It's a lot of patience, and you know, as with anything you're training to do, I don't want to say it's boring. It's not boring, because it can be repetitive, it can be tedious, but you can also kind of like really get in this great practicing zone where you're embracing the tediousness of it, and you're just sort of feeling yourself getting better, and you almost get into like a practicing trance. That's good concentrated practice, and you go at it for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and you take a break and you get back at it, or change it up into a different thing you're going to practice. Mason Rogers says, I enjoy marching band. It's a lot of fun. Cool. Mason, tell me about your what's going on with your marching band. We had a great 2 weeks of band camp. We just had our first football game last night. We played our halftime show. It was really good. The students are really doing a great job. Leonardo, Bowers Galaxy Reactor from Super Mario Galaxy on flute. This is interesting because I've never heard of this one before. Let me go ahead and type this one in. What is it? Super Mario Galaxy. Let's see. Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, Bowser. I thought it was Bowser. Yeah. Bowser Galaxy Reactor. Bowser the dog. Is that who that is? All right. So this is Super Mario Galaxy 100%. Bowser's Galaxy. Let's listen. All right, that's like a gameplay video. I'm gonna skip it. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna plug in so you guys can see. There we go. But let me see. I gotta find the right song here. Galaxy Reactor. Ooh, it's a really high trumpet note. Ah. Okay. Here's what I'm looking at. There I am. There I am. Okay, so this violin melody is what I think we want to learn here. Take it back. Okay. What note is that? It's an E flat. Okay. That's it. Okay. So it's a minor melody based on the minor triad, but it brings in so sol do sol fi. It's just the sharp 4 or the flat 5. It's kind of a neat sound. All right, ends on the minor third. So on the flute, it would be. That's the first phrase. Oh man, hold on. Wow, okay. It goes to E major. It's like the same idea, but up to E. Well, that's interesting. How do they do that? That's interesting little melody there. Okay, so from the beginning. Then it goes to like E. That's very interesting. A cool melody. All right, let's get back to some more questions. Like I said, I would figure out the whole thing for you, but that would take probably another 10 minutes of the show. Let's get to some more questions here. Ryan O'Donnell. Hi, Ryan. Is this the Ryan I know? I bet it is. Can I explain how to play octave jumps smoother on the flute? Yes. I love this question because I know the answer. So, I had octaves. Octaves were difficult for me when I was first learning to double on flute. I never took private flute lessons. I took like woodwind lessons, saxophone lessons, and then I was teaching myself the flute. So I read this book about flute playing, and when they explained it this way to me, it like unlocked octaves for me. So, when you're going from there's no octave key on a flute. I think most flute players know that, and a lot of people probably know that. There's no octave key on a flute. It's all done here. The way young or beginner flute players tend to try to do octaves is they try to just blow harder. You know, you can kind of force it out by blowing harder, like just kind of that sound of like just throwing more air at it, harder air, and it goes in the octave. But that's a very uncontrolled sound. The way you truly want to do it is you think of, I'm looking for a pencil because this is the way it was described. If you imagine the tip of a pencil, oh, here we go. I'll use a pen. It's not a pencil, but all right. So say this is let's look. Here's this pen here. So say the tip of the pen right here is the spot right here in the center of your lips where the air is coming out. It's called the aperture. If you, here we go. Oh, I might go overhead cam on this. Here we go. So say for a normal note, your aperture is like here. When you want to go to the octave, you push your lips away towards the music stand, like out, and you push your aperture a little bit this way. See that? So regular low octave and forward for high octave. And it makes your aperture closer to this outer edge. And what that does, so low octave, do, you have to do that, and you have to make your aperture a little smaller, more focused. And check it out. Ready? Can you see right here? Slight push out, like I'm pushing my lips towards the music stand. So work on that, but don't try to go that fast at first. It took me a while to get once you push your lips and you get used to pushing them back and forth, you'll find that magic spot where it's like turning on a light switch. It just the sound wave just flips the octave. Resist the temptation to force the note out by tonguing. Don't go hoo-too, because the tongue is sort of like a cheater. You want to do it all with your aperture, and resist the urge to want to blow harder for the octave. That's also sort of a cheater way. You want to make your airstream a little bit smaller and push out towards the music stand a little bit. Hope that helps. Okay. Should I know? Okay, Kanishka. Hello, sir. Should I know any techniques to play alto saxophone by ear? So, I always see some great questions back in the chat. I'm going to go back into the chat and get some more questions that have been coming through and more requests. I almost never get to all the requests for timing reasons. Okay, Kanishka. So the way I'm going to describe this really quickly is it's not specific to the alto sax. This applies to any instrument that you'd want to play. I'll give you the quick version because I talk about this a lot, but I don't mind talking about it because I think it's super important. To play music by ear, we always think, wow, that person who plays guitar, they can figure out any song. They're just a musical genius. You know, how do they do it? They might be a musical genius, but there's a way that you can teach yourself how to learn literally any song by ear. And it is getting to know, first of all, you have to get comfortable with singing and matching pitches that you hear. So you hear a song, like I just did with the Super Mario song, da 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 da. You got to practice singing along and matching your voice to the notes. I tell my students, we sing in band class. We don't sing in band class because I want you to be amazing singers. We sing in band class because it makes you a better musician. So being able to match pitch, number one. Match pitches that you hear. Number two, get to know your do, re, mi scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then number three, you start to map familiar, easy songs that you hear onto the do, re, mi scale. So for example, Mary had a little lamb. You figure out that it's mi, re, do, re, mi, mi, mi. And the more you do this, you take as many songs as you can figure out. Happy Birthday, which is actually kind of a tricky one because that's another story. But Happy Birthday is a tricky one. Jingle Bells, My Country 'Tis of Thee, different folk songs in wherever you may be living. Then when someone presents you with a new melody you've never heard before, you will recognize patterns that you've heard in other songs. Okay? So, da 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 da, do, mi, sol, la, sol. So you can figure out songs by ear. That is how you do it, regardless of what instrument you play. I hope that made some sense. And ask me questions about that. Okay. Hello, Ninja Kid. How are you? All right, let's get back to, let me go back here. I answered the clarinet question. Okay, Leonardo, this is an easy one for me. The A flat major scale on the flute. Flute. Here we go. So A flat major. There's a joke. I just told this joke yesterday. Dennis, Dennis, you ready for a bad music joke? Have you heard this one before? What do you get?
No.
What do you get when you drive what do you get when you drop a piano down a mine shaft?
No, I haven't heard that.
A flat minor.
Oh, yes. Cute.
Yes. So the question came in A flat major. So A flat major has 4 flats. When we do flats in key signatures, they always go in the same order. The first flat is always B flat. When we have 2 flats, it's always B flat, E flat. When we have 3 flats, it's B flat, E flat, A flat. Notice they don't ever get mixed up. And when we have 4 flats, it's B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. Here's your A flat major scale with those 4 flats. A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. A flat major. There you go. On the flute. Morphin, hello. I'm behind on the chat here, but what do we have here? Super Mario Brothers theme song. Mia Ann is here. Hi, Mia. Axel's Universe, if you're still here. Do I play any brass instruments or percussion? Yes, I like to play trumpet with my students. I don't practice trumpet a lot, so my trumpet embouchure muscles are not very strong, but I like to play trumpet. I got sort of build up my skills on trumpet a little bit when I was teaching elementary band because the trumpet was easy to pick up and play along with. So I do play trumpet. I play trombone. I'm okay at trombone. I'm okay. French horn, I'm okay at. Tuba, not so much because I don't ever practice it. It's such a different, bigger embouchure. String instruments, I like to play stand-up bass or electric bass when I'm playing jazz. I'll like sit in with my students on the jazz combo and play. I'm getting pretty good at that. But violin, viola, cello, very basic level, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star kind of stuff. Can I please play neck on clarinet? I don't know what that is. If you can be more or explain that a little bit more, I might be able to do it. Canon and D on clarinet. Dee, da, dee, da. What key should I do it in? So it's called canon in D because it's in D major on the piano. It's a very well-known chord progression. Wait, how's it go? I should know this. Oh, is it? What happens there? Oh boy, hold on. It's such a famous chord progression. That's it. 4, 5. It's a very well-known chord progression. I will do it in D major. This is an E major on clarinet. There's all that fast stuff, which I don't know how to play. But it's a very pretty song. It's nice to play no matter what instrument you have. Jonathan, can I explain how to modulate keys? So I'm not an expert in this, but there's a lot of music theory folks on YouTube that are really good at like explaining modulations. But I will say one of the two things to think about when you're modulating. First, one of the easiest ways to modulate is to play the 5 chord of the key that you're trying to get to. So say you're in here we go. Say you're in C major. 4, 5, 1. And say we wanted to modulate to, the easiest one to modulate to would be F major because you're in C, and then you just make it into C7 by adding a B flat, and that makes your ear want to go to F major because the most powerful progression in music, or the most powerful feeling of inevitability, is when you have a 5 chord that wants to go to a 1 chord. So we're in a 1 chord, C major, where 1 is the foundation. But we're going to turn 1 into a dominant chord, and that makes it want to go to F, because C7 is the 5 in F. It can get confusing if you haven't explored or learned music theory too much. So that's kind of the one thing. If you're trying to modulate, if you just play a 5 chord, that will bring you to whatever 1 chord you want to go to. There's other clever ways of doing modulations by doing getting to a chord that has function in 2 different keys and then using that as sort of a bridge to get from one key to another. Not a super specific or detailed answer, but let me know if that kind of gave you some information that helps you at all. Let's see. Neck stand tune. I still don't know what that is. That might be a stand tune I've never heard of. Leonardo got a lot of great requests. The Caillou theme on flute, Super Mario Odyssey. I got to pick one out here. I'm going to do the Super Mario Brothers theme song. Okay, this is Leonardo requested this one. Super Mario Brothers theme. This is a very famous. Oh, you know what? This is a good opportunity. I'm pretty sure last year or the year before. Let's see. I'm on my Dr. Selfridge music website. Let me show you. Here we are. And if we go to live stream band, where did I have the Mario Brothers? Video game tunes packet. Here it is. All right, so it's Dr. Selfridge music. Scroll down. Video games tunes packet. And I'm going to play it. Leonardo requested flute. So opening up the flute packet. Look at all this stuff. There it is, number 3. In E flat major, 3 flats. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for my packet, I kind of ended it there. That's the main melody. There's more to it, but there's a sort of the main theme of it. Lots of other songs in here we could do. Tetris. Let's see here. Tetris theme. Cool. All right. More questions and comments from everyone. We have about 10 minutes left. So, comments, questions. I got a lot of song requests, so I like questions as well. Did I miss any questions? Let's see. I got a lot of requests. Oh, here's a good question. Mason Rogers, how am I doing? I'm doing great. I'm a little tired. We had a very intense 2 weeks of band camp, but I'm resting up. Here's a question. Cecilia, is it okay if you touch or press the clarinet keys while disassembling? Yes, it's okay if you touch them, but you should try to always assemble and disassemble your clarinet in a way where you're not putting a lot of pressure onto keys and bending them. And also, to go along with that, if your clarinet is really difficult to put together, every time you put it together, add some cork grease here. So the cork grease is the kind of thing that you don't just add it once and then you're good. You have to, especially if it's a new clarinet or new corks, you have to keep adding cork grease like pretty much every time you assemble your clarinet until it really gets worked in there. My clarinet is not new and the cork is not new, so it's actually really easy to put the pieces together. But if your clarinet, if you're going really hard with your muscles trying to get it together, that's where you're going to get into trouble with smushing your keys. So keep a good cork grease in here. On the other hand, you don't want to overdo it, because if you overdo it, right, it can easily slip off and then your clarinet's falling apart. You don't want that. So I always show students kind of grip at a spot where you're mostly gripping the non-key part and gently twist and push together. The other thing students do that's not great is I see students just put the two pieces together and then they just push like this. It works much better if you do what I call the shimmy, or you just twist back and forth as you go. So that back and forth motion, it goes much easier if you twist back and forth like that. So that's a great question, Cecilia. Couple minutes left, more questions and comments. Mason, how do you play the high D on the staff on the clarinet? Here's how you do it. Oh, high D on the staff. So do you mean the E, G, B, D, the fourth line right here? I'll show you that real quick. It's octave, a register key, thumb, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's it. If you're having trouble with it, play without the register key. The equivalent low register note is a low G. Thumb, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. A nice deep, strong low G, and then you tap your thumb on the register key and it pops into the high D. Watch. Let me know if that's the one you're asking. Real quick, I'll show you the super high D, which is 2 ledger lines above the staff. It's like, that note is like playing a register key F, right? Top line, but you add your pinky here and you lift up your first finger. That's the double high D. Okay? So there's two ways of playing the D note on your clarinet. Okay, Mason, so hopefully I answered your question there. Thank you. Leonardo, thank you. Cecilia, you're welcome. I'm glad that helped. Kathy, how would I suggest learning to improvise on the clarinet? So, for this is the same answer I would give for any instrument, whatever instrument you asked about. The first thing I think it's good to do is pick a melody. It could be a melody of a tune that's traditionally used in jazz. One that I use a lot is When the Saints Go Marching In. That's a popular one. And this is really how, in my opinion, I'm not like a jazz expert. I'm not a jazz history expert, but I think a lot of jazz historians would agree that one of the important ways that jazz improv developed is it was basically people playing melodies, but feeling free to add their own creativity and personality into the way they play the melody. So the melody is still there, but you're changing up maybe how you play the rhythms. You might be adding little decorative notes, and that can go as far as, you know, if you imagine a continuum from playing the melody exactly as it's written, and then you start going a little bit with creativity. You add your own some jazzy notes, some jazzy rhythms. You're adding a little bit up and down notes. And the further you go, you can get more and more creative, and it ends up being almost a completely different song, but it's based on the structure where you started. So take a song like Saints Go Marching In, traditionally done in F major. I'll do it in the low register of the clarinet. I'll do it totally straight. Oh, when the saints... Completely as written, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, right? No extra pizzazz or anything. Start playing around with some rhythms. So that's a very basic level. But it's an important level because you're breaking out of that fear of putting your own personality. That's the first thing. If you watch my YouTube short I did with Doreen Ketchens, breaking through that fear of sounding bad and just going for it, letting your spirit soar, which is how she put it, and just starting there. Start experimenting. Add a note in. You might add a note in, and you'll say, "Oh, I didn't like how that sounded." Okay, so try something else next time. Or you might try something, and you might say, "Oh, I love how that sounded." Keep that in. Maybe use that again sometime. So that is how you get started. Going from there, you start to learn about the harmony, the chords that are happening underneath the melody. And that starts to guide you on what kind of note choices you want to make. And we start learning about studying chord progressions and arpeggios and scales. So don't get frightened off by that. That's just a natural progression of how you learn to get more and more complex with your improvisation. Start with the melody and play around with the melody. Okay, so let's go to, hey Shane, hello. Good to see you, my friend. Let's do this music request. Maybe before we wrap up today, we're getting close to wrapping up. Let It Be by the Beatles. When I find myself in times of da-da. Let me find this. Let It Be. I could probably play this one without any sheet music, but let me just see if I can find like something on YouTube that's got some play-along music. That's always fun. Sheet music. There's all kinds of stuff on YouTube. Okay, here we go. Let's try this. Oh. I just realized this is like a whole medley. All right, let me skip to Let It Be. It's like yesterday first. Da 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 da. That's yesterday. Da 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 da. Here we go. Here we go. To it, but we are short on time, running low on time, only a few minutes left. So as we wrap up here, let's see, let's keep this music going, why not? So Dennis, thank you for joining us again.
Always a pleasure.
Good show, good requests, and we should be back next week.
Yeah, we're getting back in the groove.
Getting back in the groove. That's right. So everyone, make sure you say thank you to Dennis in the chat, and we'll be back again next week. Quick answers to 2 more questions before we shove off here. What do I recommend someone teaching in the first lesson of music theory? Depends on your background. If you already know how to read music. If you don't know anything about music theory, I would learn the names of the notes on the staff, treble clef and bass clef. Learning that the higher you go up on the staff, it's higher pitch. The lower you go on the staff, it's lower pitch. Depends on where you're starting from. That would be a good place to start. And then maybe learning about rhythms, how rhythms are represented in notes, whole notes, half notes. Cecilia, what do I recommend if a reed squeaks, also plays very high notes? That sounds like it's probably an embouchure issue, Cecilia. I don't know how new you are, but If your reed squeaks, make sure your embouchure is set. Bottom lip over your bottom teeth. Teeth on top. Firm lips. Not if you put too much of the mouthpiece in your mouth, it'll squeak. Try a little bit less. I'm going to guess it's an embouchure issue. But come back next week, everyone, and I can answer more of your questions. And please be back. Please come with more questions and comments. And at the end of this, you're going to see this screen, which is how you can reach out to me on different social media things and email me and all that stuff. So once again, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. Practice, have fun, come back with your questions and requests next week and tell your friends about our show. All right, folks, I'll see you later. Have a great week. Bye-bye.